For them one take something. Ah! Ah! This battery is dying. I'm dying.
Well, how do you do? My name's Zachariah Connor, and today we're checking out the orange TH30h. It's a beautiful amp, isn't it? This is my first channel switching tube amp, my first orange amp, my first amp head that I've ever owned. It's been quite amazing, and I'm super stoked to share this amp with you. And these you can find used for like $700. The combos are drifting around as well, and for about the same price, honestly. And then you get you don't have to pay $300 for a cabinet or whatever. They're a really good deal. They have a lot of great things about them. They are a simple amp, so if you're wanting the most possible control over the sound just in the amplifier, you're probably going to find other amps that will do that. This amp design is from like 2011. That's what the copyright on the schematic for this amp says. So it's been around the block, but it's a tested amp. It's reliable. It works well. Most people enjoy them. I think there are a few limitations, which we'll cover a little bit later. It uses 4 EL84s in the power section, just like the Dual Terror and the AD30. And as a matter of fact, the power transformer on this amp says DT30 or Terror 30. Which is funny, is the Dual Terror has 30 watts of output. This amp, like I said, has 2 channels. We have a dirty channel over here and then a clean channel over here. The clean channel has a 2-band EQ and a volume control, no master volume. The dirty channel has a output volume, master volume, a shape control, which controls mid-push or mid-scoop, and then it has a gain control as well. You can also switch this amp down from 30 watts down to 15 2 ways. One is just by dropping the voltage internally, and 2 is by actually just turning off 2 of the output tubes. So if you do both half power measures at once, you get down to 7.5 watts, which is even quieter. Now, because of the way that that humans perceive volume, because volume is measured on a logarithmic scale, on the decibel scale. If you quarter the amount of power that you're putting out, so you go from 30 to 7.5 watts, you're going to cut in half the perceived volume. If you cut the power in half, you are not cutting in half the volume. So 7.5 watts sounds like half the volume of 30 watts. It feels, the 7.5 watts definitely, it makes a difference for sure, but 7.5 watts is still loud. It's still very loud. It can still easily get you evicted from an apartment. So it's not like the headroom to bedroom switch on the more recent Orange amps, which take you down to like 2 watts or 1 watt or 0.1 watt or something like that, right? 1 watt is definitely a lot lower, and 0.1 is very, very quiet. So if you want to get the most out of this amp, I do recommend getting something like an isolation box, an attenuator load box like the Captor X, or some type of attenuator to drop the volume and make it more palpable for home use. However, I got this amp for using live, and it has been awesome. I played 1.5 gigs. The half gig was the marriage of our beloved bass player in our band, John Chafee. He got married. It's very awesome. So we played a couple songs. And so, yeah, played it for that. Not a super high volume, of course. And then we played a 4th of July party and at quite a bit more volume. And it did great. It sounded awesome. I wasn't running out of clean headroom. I wasn't running out of volume by any means. It had tons and tons of both to get me through the show. This amp does have a 2-buffered effects loop, which we will demonstrate later in the video as well. And yeah, it also, that you can foot switch between the channels using this foot switch right here. If it stops focusing on my face, dang it. So hopefully you can see that. It has an LED that lights up when you're on the dirty channel, and then when you click it, you're off. The LED goes out and you're back to the clean channel. One weird quirk about this amp is that if the channel selection switch is in the clean position, the foot switch doesn't do anything. You have to set the amp to the dirty channel for the clean switch to actually do something. So there is a bit of glass inside. You have 5 preamp style tubes and then 4 power tubes. It's solid state rectified. There's no rectifier tube. You have 2 preamp tubes for the dirty channel, both ECC 83s or 12AX7s, and then an ECC 83 or 12AX7 for the clean channel. I did swap the ECC 83 for a 5701, I believe, or 50. I'll put the actual number. I forgot the actual number. I think it's 5701, but I could be wrong. To try to get drop the volume of the clean channel so it's a bit easier to dial in at lower volumes. That didn't seem to do very much. It didn't seem to affect the gain too much either when you crank the amp, but it's hard to tell because the amp is very loud at that volume. There's a 12AT7, which I don't know what the ECC code is, but a 12AT7 is for the 2-buffered effects loop. It buffers the effects loop, so each gain stage in the tube, because preamp tubes have 2 gain stages, they buffer the in and the out of the effects loop. And then finally, you have an ECC 83 or 12AX7 for the phase inverter, which is in the power section of the amp. Let's dive into the sounds. We're going to start with a Stratocaster, and then we will go to the Starcaster and maybe a little bit of the Jazzmaster, as well to kind of round out the sounds. And then at the end, we'll plug in my pedal board into the effects loop using the 4-cable method. We're using the 2-notes Torpedo Captor X 16. Like I said, we're coming out of the speaker output. And I'm running the official Orange and Celestion PPC 112 dynamic impulse response using the Shure SM57 and the Royer R121. I'll throw a screenshot of that on the screen right now. Boom. So that's what I'm going to use for this playthrough portion. We will, again, like I said, try out the actual cab and compare it to the 2-notes thing, and we'll see how close they are. So let's go. Welcome to the playthrough section of the video. We're going to be on the clean channel for now. We got a 1st-gen player Strat. Oh, the first thing I'm going to do is to show you the range of gain on the clean channel. So we're going to start with the volume channel off, or the clean channel, the volume control off, nothing. And then we're going to bring it up all the way to show you what's the difference between max and minimum volume so you can hear it. So I won't adjust the gain or anything, no level matching whatsoever. going to explore those low volume tones. So you can see that as you turn it up, obviously you get some distortion at the top. Kind of as you go past noon, you're starting to break up the amp. Let's set it at its lowest volume, and then I'll turn up the output of the Captor X, and then I'll boost it in post, so that way you can hear it a little bit better, and we'll just do a little bit of playing there. Something sounds weird. I'm not entirely sure why it sounds like there's distortion, but there isn't. Okay, let's mess around with the EQ a little bit. Okay, let's push the channel a little bit. Let's get it, try to see if we can get coax some compression out of this thing. You can almost get some like Voxy style tones out of it by pushing the treble up and pulling the bass back. That's enough tomfoolery with the Strat. Let's go get the Starcaster, and we'll try out the clean channel there as well. That's about as clean as it kind of gets. Obviously you can turn it down, but that's as much as like the compressed clean kind of goes. Could go down to like kind of here. All right, enough of that. Let's get to the dirty channel. I'm going to start with the shape at noon and the volume at noon, and we're going to run the gamut of the gain control. And yes, if you crank the master and turn down the gain, you can get some clean tones. Let me show you clean the shape control. So it basically pushes the mids or scoops the mids. Now you may not hear too much of a difference clean, but once we get dirty, you'll hear it. All right, now let's crank up the master and hear how the power amp distortion affects the sound. Okay, now let's test the power modes, and we're going to leave it in... We're just going to leave it as is on the dirty channel, and then I'm going to cut the voltage in half, go back to full power, turn off 2 of the output tubes, and then we'll bring it to the lowest power setting. So yeah, you can drop the power, and that will help to reduce some of the volume in the room, and that might be just what you need. Okay, for the next segment, we're going to plug in the pedal board into the effects loop, and we'll test out the 2-buffered effects loop. Okay, let's go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just put some stuff in the effects loop. So what's in the effects loop is the Modulate Walrus M1, and then the Boss DD500, and then the Boss RV500. So those 3 pedals are in the effects loop. Then we have some other pedals, and we could mess around with boosting some stuff. So let me do that first, actually, before we get into reverbs and stuff. Let me hit the tube screamer on the Asabi, and we're going to see if we can take this kind of slightly flubby drive channel and really get it more articulate. And that's with the volume just a little bit up, tone at noon, drive pretty low. It makes the bridge pickup sound like a neck pickup after you turn off the tube screamer. So this amp loves a good boost, as you can hear. So next, let's hit it with that big muff just because. Fun. Let's hit it with the Supreme. Dang, that's so much fun. Let's do a little solo kind of from that song that I did, and I won't do anything aside from just be reverb and delay. Let's test out the clean channel, see how it handles some drives. That's SP comp. Let's hit the golden boy. That fuzz is crazy. Okay, now let's push the volume of the clean channel and we'll see what happens to the power amp when the power amp, what's power amp distortion. We'll hear that because the reverb and delay tails will start to get distorted. Still not that much distortion. Lastly, let's hit it with the Asabi just for fun. I'd be remiss if I didn't plug in my Baritone Telecaster hanging back there, so let me do that real fast. I'm not real good at the baritone, but it's fun. Let's go crazier. Doomier. So now we've got the amp hooked up in the room, and we've got a Shure 545 SD on the cab. We're also coming out of the Captor X still. I also turned off the Royer R121 emulation, so you're only hearing the 57 emulation here. So yeah, you're going to hear... I'll switch back and forth, and I'll tell you which is which. So you're going to hear the cab in the room, and then the emulated out coming out of the Captor X. So the amp is we're sending power out of the amp into the Captor X. So the Captor X is taking signal as well, but it's not reducing the volume. And then out of the speaker output for the Captor X is going to the cabinet down here, which is being mic'd up. So that way you can get a feel for what does the PPC 112 actually sound like. Let's do it. And then I'll kind of show you how I dial it in for at home use. So the volume, the crankedness of the amp will decrease significantly so that I can do it in my house. So there'll be a little bit of trial and error here. Okay, I do have to pop in for a quick editor's note here. Clearly, these two cabinets sound nothing alike. I probably should have checked the two notes sound against the actual mic placement and made sure that those were close. I thought that I had put the 545 pretty close to halfway between the center and the edge of the cone, and clearly it was further towards the edge. I definitely liked the sound that I was getting out of the two notes earlier when I was blending the R121, the Royer. But I really liked the sound of the 540, the real 545 on the cab. And it wasn't that loud. I mean, it was loud, but it wasn't like horrendous. And it sounded really good. So I don't know. Cab sims are great, but gosh dang it, the real thing, nothing beats the real thing. It's just that it's so much fun. There's so much variability too. So anyways, bye. here's a look at the Orange TH30. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please like and subscribe if you like content like this. If you would like to see my Ampeg GVT112 run through the Captor X as well, let me know. Drop your favorite impulse responses in the chat below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.